my drink here just to be sitting. Okay. All right. It's Signal and Flow, the show where we hang with business owners and creative people to talk about their ideas and experiences. Today, I'm hanging out with the creative director of Soundfall Media and about to be Ohio's best FPV cinematographer, the one and only Mr. Taylor Ruiz.
Thank you for having me on. I'm always excited to do this kind of stuff.
Dude, this is cool. I enjoy this setup. This is so that intro track that I pulled in is actually from in like 2020 started me and Benedict, who was the previous creative director, out doing amazing stuff with the restaurant. Me and him got on like, oh, we're quarantined, we're not doing a whole lot, let's create a podcast. So I created that intro. We did like 3 episodes. And then it just disappeared.
It's gone.
So now we're back at it. We've got Signal and Flow, the business tech creative podcast, and yeah, man, I'm excited. So we're at episode 1. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty great. Feeling pretty good. It's getting warmer outside. Sun's coming out more. I'm ready to shoot some great drone stuff. So ready.
Yeah, dude. So branching off my intro, tell me about the DJI FPV drone that just came out.
Okay, so I've been watching this thing since before it came out. I was hearing whispers of it, and I was watching it, and then it dropped, and I think it dropped on March 2nd. The day that it came out, I think I spent most of my day watching the videos of people flying it as it came out. And I mean, like, there were videos, like, I would watch one and then another one would pop up and it was like posted 30 minutes ago. So I'd watch that one and then I'd watch the next one and the next one. And it motivated me to get back into studying for the Part 107 and like take that test.
Yeah, so you're going to be Part 107 certified after when? Today, right?
Today. I take the test today, and your boy's going to pass it because I'm getting high 90s on practice tests. So, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Dude, you were cracking me up because that drone comes out, and I'm going to put my Iron Man socks or my Marvel socks out of the shot here. So maybe. Are they still?
They're still there.
Or whatever.
Yeah,
it's
whatever.
all good. So you kept on sending me this drone. You're like, oh, it's in my cart. I'm about to purchase it. I'm like, dude.
Cart.
I'm like, don't do it yet. Don't do it yet. I've actually got some really cool ideas. I think we should do a town reel, like a town. Like, I thought about it. We should call. You know how they call it Ashland on the Rise. Mm-hmm. We should just create a video called On the Rise.
Yes.
Yeah, and like fly the drones through. So,
that'd be so dope.
I'm excited. You're gonna pass this, man.
100%.
Yeah. So I want to talk about your role a little bit as the creative director for Soundfall. So, like, what's this company? I never heard of them before.
So I need to talk about Soundfall.
Yeah.
From the creative director position. So
what's your creative director position?
So, well, what I do at Soundfall, I'm still working up into that position a little bit more. I have some big boots to fill. But right now I do a lot of video editing. I do a lot of internal content, a lot of Instagram stuff like that. And the role I'm stepping into and working up into is just having, instead of like asking you a bajillion questions, I'm trying to have all those questions already answered. So I only have to come to you in like a severe case where, like, I don't know what to do. I want to have those answers to make good creative choices for the company and choices that will show a good return.
Nice. Yeah. I've never heard of Soundball before. I don't know what they are. I don't know what they do.
Soundball?
Soundfall. Who is this company?
Well,
I don't know the owner. Do you know the owner?
He's an okay guy. I'm still warming up to him. No. Well, Soundfall, we specialize in video, and then if a client needs it, we'll do some audio stuff for them. We'll do marketing and website stuff, but our main gig is going to be video.
Sick. That's awesome. What's the most recent challenge that you've been met with as the creative director?
Davinci Resolve. Coming from Premiere Pro, I mean, Davinci just has all around better color grading in every aspect. But everything's in a different place. The workflow that I would do is obviously changed, and I'm still trying to find where some of the buttons are in Resolve to make it work. Cue me like pulling my hair out, trying to like get 2 cameras to sync to external audio. After Googling it, and then you're like, hey, here's your answer. I'm like, how did you even find this? Like, I searched for these terms exactly, and it didn't come up. That's like a hardware problem. Like a non-hardware problem is just, okay, how do I fake it until I make it in this position?
Yeah.
That's really what I'm trying to figure out right now, is how do I get to that point where I could take somebody on as like an intern or a paid employee or paid contractor and be able to tell them how to do the job right. So that's the part that I'm focusing on a lot right now, is how do I get to that point where I'm no longer, well, I'm always going to be learning, but I'm no longer just like learning how to walk in these shoes, but I'm there and now I'm just trying to fill bigger shoes, but I have answers to give people that don't.
Gotcha. Yeah, getting out of the baby shoes and into like getting my big boy pants.
Yeah, get my big boy pants.
Big boy pants on. Have you had any cool wins recently?
Ooh, I mean, I've got a lot of good stuff going for me right now.
Well, you're about to have one.
Oh, I'm about to have a
in
huge
what,
one
like
today.
8 hours?
Yeah, something like that. Who takes an exam at 5 p.m.? Big wins recently. I mean, I would say the biggest win is that I'm actually doing a job that I'm excited to get up for and do it. At my old job, I would wake up at like 6:45 in the morning and absolutely just dread the rest of my day because it was a job that I hated, and there was literally no room for upward movement. There was none. I was at the top, and the top also happens to be the bottom. So being able to wake up and say like, okay, I have this going on in my day, and I'd be excited for it.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest wins I've had so far this year.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I recently approached you with a challenge too. And I was like, hey, I'm like, instead of like us just, going whatever, work's a little slower, let's just do one video a week. How'd you feel about that?
So normally when you say, hey, I have a creative challenge for you, I'm like, it's not that I'm not excited to do it, but I'm always like, oh no, what is this creative challenge? And then you said, let's make a video a week. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's do that, because now I have a couple of days of time to edit something and like fine tune my editing process to where it only takes me a couple of days to get out something that's usable. So I'm like super excited for this challenge. We have a lot of great ideas kind of like in the pipe that we're going to talk about later.
Yeah.
But especially the one that we're working on right now, I won't give anything away. But it's been really fun to put it into Resolve and just figure out how to use that program with footage that like has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and there's a story that's being told.
Yeah. Now for the basic user who might not really know, someone just getting into the tech stuff, like listening in, what the heck is Resolve? What's Premiere? Like, why would you choose one over the other? Like, okay, the video editing software is right.
So Premiere and Resolve are non-linear video editors, which just means you can take clips from an out of order sequence, put them on a timeline, and then reorganize them however you want. If you're just getting started and you want to like put stuff out quickly, I would really suggest that you use Premiere, just because it's the learning curve is less. The color grading, everything's on the side panel, and there's 10,000 tutorials on Adobe products that you don't have to pay for.
And they all work together.
Like if you get the full Creative Suite, everything talks to each other. And so Premiere natively handles Photoshop files, which Resolve does too, but on the Premiere side, it handles all the files that Adobe has natively. And you don't have to, there's no funny business that goes on. So if you're just getting started, I would highly recommend Premiere, just because the learning curve is so much less than Resolve. Yeah. But if you've been doing Premiere for a while and you really want to step your game up, Resolve is just the way to go. The color grading is world-class for a reason. It's just a really good program. I'm still learning it. There's still a bunch of stuff. Like, I have no idea how to use their special effects tab. I'm still learning that. It's all node based, which is cool because it leaves a lot open to where you can just do anything with your node base. But I know how to do like two things, so working on it.
Dude, I remember when when you first got into video editing or doing that stuff, like, did you go straight to Premiere, or were you like me? Like, when I first started, I'm a big fan of this company called AppSumo, and they come across and they bring like these lifetime deals to like these startup companies. And so maybe like once a year, sometimes twice a year, I'll come across a really, really good deal, save myself hundreds of dollars a month or like in costs of products or whatever because I purchased like a lifetime deal. And I got this program called Filmora from AppSumo. And it was like, this is before I really knew anything about video at all. And it's just like this thing. It's got, I'm like, oh, cool. You can do text overlays in it. You can like throw these really wonky color grades over. And then I would get, I remember I get in and I'd be like, I don't know what any of these export settings mean or anything. I'm going to click and see what happens. And so I would get these random projects of this from this Wondershare Filmora. But that was my start in video editing. Did you go straight into like, because when I looked at Premiere, I was like, dude, that's a scary place.
Mm-hmm. So actually, I started doing video editing a long time ago when I was probably like still in middle school, but I had a little Mac Mini,
okay,
which should not have been doing video editing, but there I was in iMovie with my camera that at the time you had to have FireWire to get that footage from the camera to the Mac, and it ran on like little digital tapes.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was like FireWiring in, and I have a sketch that if I can find, I'll either remake it or I'll show you what the original sketch was.
We'll link it in the show notes.
We'll link it in the show notes. And like looking back, you're like, oh my God, what is going on there? But it was a nice introduction to me for nonlinear editing. When I got into Premiere, I was kind of, by the time I got into Premiere for video editing, I had already been through like graphic design classes, had my associate's degree in that. And so I had a familiarity with Adobe products, because when you know one Adobe product, it's really easy to get into all the other ones, except for InDesign. InDesign's a whole other beast. But when I got to Premiere, I kind of knew what was going on. I knew a lot more about video editing and how to kind of approach that workflow.
Gotcha. So, like for somebody who's just starting on trying to get their content out on social media, because we all know that you just need more better content, right? Mm-hmm. And video is like one of those main mediums. What would be kind of your first suggestion for somebody who just wants to dive in, just to begin? Like, I got my iPhone 12 Pro. I'm gonna pull out, get some video. Like, what's your suggestion there?
Yeah. So, if you want to put some money into it right away, it's not that expensive. I want to say it's probably like $20-$30 a month. You can get stuff from Adobe, and all of the Adobe subscriptions, they come with like the app subscriptions. And so there is like Premiere Rush, I think it's called, which you can get right on your phone, and you can edit videos through that. Now, if you don't want to put money into it right at the start, there are other free programs. I don't know what they are, but I know they exist where you can do relatively the same thing. So that's a good way, because most people have a smartphone now. I'm seeing 10, 11, 12-year-old kids with smartphones, sometimes younger. So everyone's got a smartphone, and most of them at this point are capable of shooting at least 1080.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this thing does better than like my wife's T6 sometimes.
Exactly.
With a stock lens on it.
Exactly. So everyone's got a decent enough phone at this point that they can shoot probably 1080p. A lot of phones now can shoot 4K without a problem. So you have the resources. You just have to figure out how to put everything together.
Yeah.
So start with a phone app, and then just go from there.
You're a photographer too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you do some photography stuff. What inspired you to get into photography?
Okay, so when I was doing my associate's degree for graphic design, we had to take a photography class, and at that point, I didn't hate it or anything, but I just had no interest. And it was as soon as they put the camera in my hand, and it was like a old Rebel, like probably one of the first or second generation Rebels that were digital.
Yeah.
I immediately fell in love with it, and that's what I asked for Christmas. I was like, I want a camera for Christmas. And my dad's also a photographer, but he hasn't like touched new cameras. Like he got his Nikon, and he's shot a bajillion weddings with that. And so he lives in Nikon world, and he wanted to make sure that I would get something that was like versatile and customizable.
Canon beats Nikon.
Canon beats Nikon. So I ended up with a T5i as my first camera.
Okay.
And I just kind of developed those skills over time doing that. And then I sat in with one of my friends, Melody, hopefully you'll be on the show at some point. And I went out and just did a session with her where she kind of coached me through how to approach some problems and like how to think about balancing and composition. And after one shoot, my photos went from like to like, you could sell this. Like this is this can be profitable.
That's cool. What are you shooting on now?
I'm shooting on a 90D, Canon 90D. I love that camera. It's just a good camera.
Like prosumer level.
Yeah, it's like a prosumer level, because the one thing that people tend to think is you have to have these super expensive cameras to sell photos.
Well, that's like a 35 megapixel, 35
something
megapixel
ridiculous
camera
like that. I mean, it's like it's got a lot of pixels.
Which, by the way, like in the term of pixels, if you're thinking like you don't need a really high end pixel, like 50 megapixel camera. Are you making billboards?
Right.
Like, you don't need that many pixels. The 1DX Mark II is a 20 megapixel camera.
Well, yeah. You don't like if you want to get into photography. I would say start with I would go Canon just because I know Canon, and if you do their like EFS system, you could put any lens that Canon makes on a Canon camera.
Right.
So I would start with like a T5i. If you're gonna do Rebel series, get the I series. It's gonna cost you a couple $100 more, but just trust me, it's well worth the couple $100.
Especially if you're gonna do any video.
Yeah. So especially if you want to do video with that, get like a T5i, and you can do portraits with that of your friends, and you can take commissions, or they're not called commissions in photography world. You can take jobs with a T5i for doing like family portraits, stuff that's not super fast moving. You can reset and take it again if something's wrong. You can get into it pretty cheap.
Yeah, well, you can always get like, I mean, the nice thing is if you get an entry level camera, like the argument that most people come across is like the lens is more important than the body.
Oh yeah, glass over body. Like always. So if
you got $1,000 budget, go buy a cheap body and get yourself a really nice lens.
Yeah. Oh.
Now, what do you want to be shooting on?
I would like to go full frame at some point.
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide if I want to go mirrorless or not. I don't know the benefits of going mirrorless versus mirrored. It's something I need to research. The R6 is pretty much the same form factor as the 90D. It's just I did shoot with the R6 a little bit, and it might just be because I'm not used to shooting on a full frame. The 90D is like 1.56 or something like that, cropped. But it just wasn't giving me the results that I'm used to. So I got to figure out, okay, do I want to go mirrored or do I want to go mirrorless? And then how do I... for me, it'll be compensating. How do I compensate for now? It's a true 50 millimeter or it's a true 24 or whatever I'm shooting at, because it's usually like I'm really shooting at like an 80 or like a 38 or something like that.
Yeah, right.
So I know I'm going to stick with Canon just because I have like 5 Canon lenses and I'm not trying to spend more money on lenses. Yeah.
That was the biggest thing. So when I got the R6, and obviously you've had time to play with it a little bit, I've had more time, especially on the photography. The only thing that bothers me is all my glasses is the EF, and they switched that to the RF adapter. Mm-hmm. And all of the RF glass, there's no third parties making anything right now. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy expensive to get RF glass, and so I got to use this adapter that's like that long on top of it, which extends all my lenses. So when I got the 70 to 200 on there, which is like my favorite lens right now, it's like this telescope. You get this thing on there, in my camera, I'm like, I got a shotgun here that I gotta like pull up, and that even that little 1 inch and a half extra, right. I hate having to deal with it.
How do I hold this without breaking the mount?
Right.
Like, how do I do this?
But it's crazy expensive for the RF. So I mean, that is a con to it, but I love shooting on the full frame. It's just nice to know this is the focal length I'm actually. It's like training my eye to know, hey, this is what I'm shooting at.
Right.
But yeah. So random question here. What is a recent discovery that's changed your day-to-day life? And I'm going to give some context and example to this. Like, mine is Command+A. So we're sitting in here, I'm doing some editing stuff, and Taylor's overshadowing me, and I'm doing some edits, and I'm like clicking and highlighting a bunch of stuff, and he's like, you can just you hit Command+A on your keyboard and it selects all of it. And I just Like, I look at him like, you just changed my life. Or here's another example. Like, so my calendar, my Google Calendar, I'm always putting events in at the wrong freaking month because it doesn't line up properly. And I come into my calendar now and I'm scrolling through and my wife, Tekka, she's like, you know, there's a button at the top right that just takes you back to the day that you're on, right? This little button up here. Life-changing moment. So I want to know what is something, I call them like the small overlooked things that people miss, right? What's something in your day-to-day life recently of some part that you're just like, poof.
I am so used to taking a project from beginning to completion.
Yeah.
And what has been kind of difficult for me to overcome, and so this is really not a little thing. This is kind of a big thing. I don't really have many little things where I'm like, my life's changed. It's all this crazy stuff.
That's just me. I'm like, big things, whatever. Like little things, life changing.
Right. The big thing for me was getting over the idea that I don't have to take a project from start to completion all the time and feel like I failed somewhere. I'm not used to working as a team so much in this regard. Like, most of the stuff I do creatively, I take it from start to finish, and I'm expected to take it from start to finish and like to have all the answers.
Yeah, right.
And so it's been weird and just something I've had to overcome, thinking like, okay, I had to hand this off to you, but I didn't fail. I just, you have a different set of skills where like, maybe you're really good at this one thing that I'm just not good at. And that's fine. That's a good team dynamic, is someone like, you should complement each other's skills.
Right.
And that's just been a really weird thing to get over. Like, I was texting my girlfriend, like, I feel like I'm not doing my job. And she's like, you did 80% of it. And I was like, I know, but I didn't do 100% of it.
For all those solopreneurs out there, like, hey, just go find a team member to work with.
Right,
and they can have these struggles.
Right.
Cool, man. That's a good discovery, though. That's something to give a lot of people, you know, that perspective to think on. It is like, we've all got different brains. We work different ways. It always cracks me up because, like, when you and I are shooting together, we're doing something, I'm always like, we should go and then go do all this crazy stuff, and then you're like, I'm just gonna kind of like chill, do a little bit here. Like, it's this opposite dynamic, and I'm like, I must have had way too much coffee because it's always such a different dynamic. But it's not a bad dynamic any means. It's just different.
No, it's good. It's very yin yang. Like, you got to have someone that's like, let's go crazy, and then you got to have someone that's like, let's reel it a little bit, because like, I like crazy, but it's not feasible right now. Right. So let's reel it in just a little bit.
However, all the footage for the next 6 months is just going to be crazy.
It's gonna be. Oh, I'm gonna spend. So DJI has a simulator that you can hook the goggles up to and the remote, and I'm just gonna spend like 20 hours in that sim.
There you go.
And so that way, I've been watching drone videos too on like, what's this move called? How do you do it? Like, here, you can watch the sticks as I do this move. So I am learning some Cinewoop stuff.
And I want to give some people some context into it too. So like, if you don't really understand what FPV is first person view, and you're literally flying a drone. So I don't know if you've ever played like a video game and you're in first person mode and you're like going through it. It's like that, but with something real. A drone that you're flying, and you basically are like a fly going around capturing footage at the same time as like you're driving this thing. So you got a controller in your hand and you're flying the drone with the perspective of like, this is what I'm doing. And
if I can talk about that space a little bit, is that all right? Okay, so before, I don't know exactly when DJI's like first person, because they have like a just separate like receiver that you can stick on a regular like 5-inch quad. Okay. And it's a digital receiver. And that they're trying to replace analog. So I don't know exactly when that came out, but like, I'm going to say to turn back in the day, when you made a quadcopter or whatever, I'll just go drone, let's say drone. Whenever you made a drone, you kind of had to like, you had to solder that thing together. You did. You had to like solder that thing together, and when you charged batteries, if you didn't do the right calculations, they would just blow up. Like, you could set your house on fire if you didn't do the batteries right.
This is why I didn't get into FPV.
Right. And luckily for me, I wasn't really interested in FPV at that point. So like this is the first FPV drone that I own. I'm going to own, but I just did a lot of research on old stuff. With analog, it's an analog signal coming through the headset. So it looks like you're watching an old VHS tape. And if you go behind a building, you can lose video, and those drones are not forgiving. They literally, you turn that thing on, you arm it, it goes up.
Oh wait, so that's not cool.
Yeah, no, it's not cool.
I'm just thinking, hey, it's vintage, bro. Like, you get the vintage look. What are you going to do? No. Okay, I see.
Those drones don't hover in place. Like, you have to be on throttle, and if you lose signal, that drone's gone. It's gone.
That reminds me of like this little cheap ass drone that I have inside, where I'm constantly on the joysticks. I'm like, why isn't this like my Mavic, where it'll just hover by itself?
Right. Yeah. But with the DJI FPV drone that just came out, it's got 3 modes on it. It's got your normal mode, which kind of acts like a Mavic, but it's on a smaller form factor. Sport mode, which will like everyone, the main appeal, one of the main appeals to FPV is like your gimbal's only up and down. Your stabilization's only up and down. So when you go like this, the camera will go like this with you on FPV, and that is just a really cool look. In both of those modes, you can let go of the controller and it will just stop. It'll just hover. So it's a really good trainer for people that are just getting into it. And then when you flip that thing over into full manual, then you can go crazy with it. Also on this drone, which is not on other FPV drones traditional style, there's a button where like if I'm flying and I get upside down and I don't know how to get out of it, I hit this button and it rights itself and then hovers until I'm ready to go again.
The pause button.
It's the pause button. Yeah, it's literally called the pause button. So yeah, just done.
Literally like a video game.
Yeah, literally like a video game.
This is like a real life video game.
You're like, oh man, this is gonna be bad. Click. Just kidding. It's fine. So that's, I'm so excited for the direction that FPV is going. It's definitely getting more like newbie friendly, and people are actually, these hardcore drone people are coming out and saying like, hey, if you're just getting into FPV, go buy this. Because you would think they'd be like, so no, stay analog, crash your drone 10 times. They're like, no, go buy this. This is a good system to get into.
That's crazy. Now, when does it come? What, like you ordered
Friday.
it? You get it Friday. So you're gonna pass your test. You're gonna pass your test today.
Yeah.
Get your part 107.
Yep.
And then we can go fly some commercials for somebody. Be like, hey, do you just want to you want a bee to come through? Like you want to see a bee's perspective on your hamburger? Like we could totally do that.
Yeah, I'm so ready.
That's cool, man. So kind of like last question, we're gonna close this thing out. What's next on the radar for you? Like what's some upcoming things that you're pretty pumped about right now?
Big things I'm pretty pumped about right now. Now that it's getting warmer out and there's more sunlight and things are going to start growing back, I'm very much stuck in drone world in terms of what kind of footage I'm going to be getting.
Which, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, like we're in Ohio, we don't get like great weather here.
Yeah, it's really, during the summer it's really, really, it can be really pretty. But we were in winter for like 6 months. It's ridiculous.
Winter is coming.
Winter is better. It's as soon as it stops, we're going to start saying that again because it will. But big things looking forward are just a lot of drone stuff, because I want to offer that as a service. Is aerial photography and cinematography, and then also just doing more of these weekly videos. Yeah, because we're just gonna get better and better and better. I know our first video, some of the stuff just isn't quite sticking, and it's just learning points.
Yeah, it's just practice.
Just gotta learn how to do stuff. Yeah,
you got to get past that fear, and that's one of the realizations I had recently, and when we were doing this content and all that, and like if you've been around me long enough, which you have, like you can see that I'm a perfectionist, and perfectionism can be really tiring. And so I'm like, no more. Like wherever that little wire is in my brain, let's unplug that and let's just put it out there and make whatever works, right? That's right. What we're sitting here doing a podcast right now with. If this works, great. If it needs change, well, there's always another episode coming. So
and the thing about like being perfect is most people aren't even going to notice if something is wrong. We notice because we sit and stare at it for 6 hours. Right. Someone watching our 3-minute video, they're probably not going to notice unless it really sticks out. But perfection is like when you're working on a movie. And even then, I've caught things in movies where I'm like, I know this. How do you not know better? Like what happened here? So yeah, there's no need to be perfect.
That's it. That's the podcast for the day. No need to be perfect. Dude, thanks for kicking it with me.
Thanks for having me. This is dope.
Yeah, this is going to be a blast. I really do think that, you're going to be on many of the future episodes. We're going to interview guests. We're going to have all that kind of stuff. But obviously, you being a part of Soundfall, we'll get to have lots of really cool conversations. And I don't know. I think we should maybe we should get some like T-shirts made or something like that with the Signal and Flow logo on it for guests.
Oh, that'd be dope.
You know what I mean? I don't know. What do you guys think? Funny slogan, something? I don't know. Let us know. Email podcast@soundfallmedia.com, or you can shoot me a DM. You can follow us on Instagram at Soundfall Media. My personal handle is at Caleb Aaron Burns. What's your handle?
At like THE at the Taylor Ruiz.
Okay. And you do photography one too, right?
Yeah, so that's Taylor Ruiz Photography. Last name is spelled Ruiz.
There we go. Ruiz. Awesome. Well, hey, we'd love to know what you guys think. We'd love to have your feedback. We might even love to have you on the show. This episode is sponsored by Soundfall Media. We have a small business tool, a CMS, which is a content management system where you can, make your website, make your funnels, do text messages, email automation, all that really cool stuff. If that's something you're interested in, make sure you hit us up. Make sure you
let us know.
Give us a call at 614. No. But seriously, reach out to us. Let us know what you thought about the episode. And yeah, that's it. Can't wait to have you guys on the next episode.